Okay, in question 4, we have to find the period of y equals negative 2 sine parentheses 4x plus pi over 2. So what you have to do first is fill out the original problem, which is, or the period or whatever that is, which is y equals a sine b parentheses x minus c. Alright, so what we have to do is find the period. To find the period is first we have to factor out 4 to 4x plus pi over 2 to get that by itself, to get x plus pi over 8, which that will help us ending up getting the period. So to get the period, now we have to find, we have to factor, so that would be b. And then b will end up being 4. To find the period, we have to do 2 pi, divide that by b, which that will end up helping us get the period, which is the period is 2 pi divided by 4, which that equals pi over 2, and that will be our period. Alright, so it looks like the first point is at negative 2. That means the a value and the answer has to be negative 2. So by looking at all the answers, the only one that has negative 2 is A, C, and D. That means B is crossed out. And then since it looks like it's a sine function, that means it'll go from here, down, back up. It's right here, that'll be 1 period. So it looks like it's 2 periods. So 4 pi over 3 divided by 2 is 4 pi over 3 times 1 over 2 is 4 pi over 6. That reduces to 2 pi over 3. And out of these equations, to get that period would be C, because it has a 3 b value. So it would be 2 pi over b. Plug in the 3 from the equation on answer C, you get 2 pi over 3, which equals, that's graph's period.
From previous knowledge, we know that the graph of cosine starts at 1, and so this graph starts at 1, and we know that the amplitude is 1 because it's 1, and so number 4 has the amplitude of 1, so the answer is 4.
By looking at this equation, we can see that it starts at the origin, so it may be sine. It's going to be sine. So this will eliminate these choices of cosine, because usually cosines begin at 1 and not at the origin. So from here on out, you can see that the amplitude goes all the way to 1. And when looking at the equation, y equals a sine of bx, the a value is missing, which would represent 1. The a value would be 1/2, which would not be 1. So by looking at this, this eliminates this choice and leaves us with an amplitude of 1 sine.
So as we can see here, the graph goes through the origin, so it's not going to be cosine. So this one goes and this one goes away. And then here the amplitude for this one is 1/2, and this one is 1. This is the one here. So the amplitude is 1. And the graph doesn't touch 1, it's 1/2 of 1. So it's 3. So the graph for this one is 3.
And then we also know that this is not a graph of sine, because sine typically starts at 0 and then goes up that, and cosine is typically known for its C shape. So we could automatically take out that, and then we get the answer of this.
So for number 8, it says, graph the following trig functions over 1 period. Be sure to include a table of values and label your axis clearly. So your equation is y equals 3 cosine pi x, and you have 3 values, which is your a value, your b value, and your c value. Your a value is 3, your amplitude will be 3, the exact value of 3. Then your b value will be pi, and then the equation for your period is 2 pi over pi, which you'll get 2. And then there's no phase shift, which is your c value, and there's no vertical shift, which is your d value. So what you were going to do is you're going to find your 5x values. So your period is 2, and then between that is 1, and then the second one is 1.5, and then this is 1.5. All right, and then your table, you're gonna put down x 0, 1.5, 1 and 1/2, and then 2, and then you're gonna find the cosine of the value. So cosine of 0 is 1, cosine of 1/2 is 0, cosine of 1 is -1, cosine of 1 and 1/2 is 0, cosine of 2 is 1, and then you're gonna multiply 3 by your cosine values. So 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times -1 is -3, 3 times 0 is 0, and 3 times 1 is 3. Now you're gonna graph it. So at 0, we're gonna have 3, and then 1.5, you're gonna have 0. At 1, you're gonna have -3, and at 1 and 1/2, which is 1.5, you're gonna have 0, and then at 2, you're gonna have 3, and that's where it ends.
So the problem we got was number 9, which is to graph 3 minus 6 sine of x, 6 sine of 2x plus pi over 2. We simplified the 2x plus pi over 2, divided out the 2, and we got 2x plus pi over 4. With this, we got the a through d, so we got amplitude equals 6, or the absolute value of -6. We got b equals 2, we got c equals negative pi over 4, because a negative minus a negative equals positive, so it'll be moving left pi over 4. And we got no d value. We also found a period, which was 2 pi over b, or 2 pi over 2 equals pi. With that, we found intervals. We put 0 is less than or equal to 2 of x plus pi over 4 is less than 2 pi. We divided that by 2. We got this. Then afterwards, we subtracted pi over 4 to get our last value of it's going to be equal to negative pi over 4 in between x, in between 3 pi over 4. From there, we can get our table of values. You just kind of do them all over pi. You just use pi over 4s. After that, the next step would be in the table would be to add pi over 4. So you'd add pi over 4 to each of these values. You'd get this side. You'd multiply all of that by 2. So you'd get the golden row. And then after the golden row, you can use the golden row to do sine of 2x plus pi over 4. You'd get 0, 1, 0, -1, 0. You'd multiply that by -6, which is the a value. So 0, -6, 0, 6, 0. And then you'd add 3. So 0 plus 3 is 3, -6 plus 3 is -3, 0 plus 3 is 3, 6 plus 3 is 9, 0 plus 3 is 3. And last step would be to graph it all. So you just add in all the points.
We're doing problem 1, which we have to find the period of y equals -3 cosine 1/4 x. The period equation is 2 pi over b. B in this problem equals to 1/4. And you take the reciprocal of 1/4 and multiply it to 2 pi over 1. You get 8 pi, and that is your answer.
So you want to find the vertical translation for y equals 5 plus 2 sine of parentheses 6x plus pi over 6. What you want to do is you want to label your equation. So 2 is going to be a, 6 is going to be b, and c is going to be pi over 6, and then d is going to be 5. So with all these equations ready, you label them, and d is going to be the one letter that determines whether you're going to be going up or down on the graph. Since 5 is positive, you're going to be going up 5 times. So your vertical translation is going to be going up 5